chapters 13 through 18 of the book of Ezekiel from the Young's Literal Translation of the Bible. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are public domain. For more information, or how you can volunteer, visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mark Penfold. Chapters 13 through 18 of Ezekiel from the Young's Literal Translation. Chapter 13. And there is a word of Jehovah unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy concerning the prophets of Israel who are prophesying, and thou hast said to those prophesying from their own heart, Hear ye a word of Jehovah. Thus said the Lord Jehovah, Woe unto the prophets who are foolish, who are going after their own spirit, and they have seen nothing. As foxes in the wastes, thy prophets, O Israel, have been. Ye have not gone up into breaches, nor do ye make a fence for the house of Israel, to stand in battle in a day of Jehovah. They have seen vanity and lying divination, who are saying, An affirmation of Jehovah, and Jehovah hath not sent them, and they have hoped to establish a word. A vain vision have ye not seen, and a lying divination spoken, when ye say, An affirmation of Jehovah, and I have not spoken? Therefore thus said the Lord Jehovah, Because ye have spoken vanity and seen a lie, therefore, lo, I am against you, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. And my hand hath been on the prophets who are seeing vanity, and who are divining a lie. In the assembly of my people they are not, and in the writing of the house of Israel they are not written, and unto the ground of Israel they come not. And ye have known that I am the Lord Jehovah. Even because they did cause my people to err, saying, Peace, and there is no peace. And that one is building a wall, and lo, they are daubing it with chalk. Say to those daubing with chalk, It falleth. There hath been an overflowing shower, and ye, O hailstones, do fall, and a tempestuous wind doth rend, and lo, fallen hath the wall. Doth not one say unto you, Where is the daubing that ye daubed? Therefore thus said the Lord Jehovah, I have rent with a tempestuous wind in my fury, and an overflowing shower is in mine anger, and hailstones in my fury to consume. And I have broken down the wall that ye daubed with chalk, and have caused it to come unto the earth, and revealed hath been its foundation, and it hath fallen, and ye have been consumed in its midst, and ye have known that I am Jehovah. And I have completed my wrath on the wall, and on those daubing it with chalk, and I say to you, The wall is not, and those daubing it are not. The prophets of Israel who are prophesying concerning Jerusalem, and who are seeing for her a vision of peace, and there is no peace, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. And thou, son of man, set thy face against the daughters of thy people, who are prophesying out of their own heart, and prophesy concerning them. And thou hast said, Thus said the Lord Jehovah, Woe to those sewing pillows for all joints of the arm, and to those making the kerchiefs for the head of every stature, to hunt souls. The souls do ye hunt of my people? And the souls ye have do ye keep alive? Yea, ye pierce me concerning my people, for handfuls of barley and for pieces of bread, to put to death souls that should not die, and to keep alive souls that should not live, by your lying to my people, hearkening to lies. Therefore thus said the Lord Jehovah, Lo, I am against your pillows, with which ye are hunting there the souls of the flourishing, and I have rent them from off your arms, and have sent away the souls that ye are hunting, the souls of the flourishing. And I have torn your kerchiefs, and delivered my people out of your hand, and they are no more in your hand for a prey, and ye have known that I am Jehovah. Because of paining the heart of the righteous with falsehood, and I have not pained it, and strengthening the hands of the wicked so as not to turn back from his evil way, to keep him alive. Therefore vanity ye do not see, and divination ye do not divine again. And I have delivered my people out of your hand, and ye have known that I am Jehovah. Chapter 14. And come in unto me do certain of the elders of Israel, and sit before me. And there is a word of Jehovah unto me, saying, Son of man, these men have caused their idols to go up on their heart, and the stumbling block of their iniquity they have put over against their faces. Am I inquired of at all by them? Therefore speak with them, and thou hast said unto them, Thus said the Lord Jehovah, Every one of the house of Israel who causeth his idols to go up unto his heart, and the stumbling block of his iniquities setteth over against his face, and hath gone in unto the prophet, I, Jehovah, have given an answer to him for this, for the abundance of his idols, in order to catch the house of Israel by their heart, in that they have become estranged from off me by their idols, all of them. Therefore say unto the house of Israel, Thus said the Lord Jehovah, Turn ye back, yea, turn ye back from your idols, and from all your abominations turn back your faces. For every one of the house of Israel, and of the sojourners who doth sojourn in Israel, who is separating from after me, and doth cause his idols to go up unto his heart, and the stumbling block of his iniquity setteth over against his face, and hath come in unto the prophet to inquire of him concerning me, I, Jehovah, have answered him for myself. And I have set my face against that man, and made him for a sign, and for similes, and I have cut him off from the midst of my people, and ye have known that I am Jehovah. And the prophet, when he is enticed, and hath spoken a word, I, Jehovah, I have enticed that prophet, and have stretched out my hand against him, and have destroyed him from the midst of my people Israel. And they have borne their iniquity, as the iniquity of the inquirer, so is the iniquity of the prophet, so that the house of Israel do not wander any more from after me, nor are defiled any more with all their transgressions. And they have been to me for a people, and I am to them for God, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. And there is a word of Jehovah unto me, saying, Son of man, the land, when it sinneth against me to commit a trespass, and I have stretched out my hand against it, and broken for it the staff of bread, and sent it into famine, and cut off from it man and beast. And these 3 men have been in its midst, Noah, Daniel, and Job. They by their righteousness deliver their own soul, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. If an evil beast I cause to pass through the land, and it hath bereaved, and it hath been a desolation without any passing through because of the beast, these 3 men in its midst, I live, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah, neither sons nor daughters do they deliver, they alone are delivered, and the land is a desolation. Or, a sword I bring in against that land, and I have said, Sword, thou dost pass over through the land, and I have cut off from it man and beast, and these 3 men in its midst, I live, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah, they deliver not sons and daughters, for they alone are delivered. Or, pestilence I send unto that land, and I have poured out my fury against it in blood, to cut off from it man and beast. And Noah, Daniel, and Job, in its midst, I live, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah, neither son nor daughter do they deliver, they by their righteousness deliver their own soul. For thus said the Lord Jehovah, although my 4 sore judgments, sword and famine and wild beast and pestilence, I have sent unto Jerusalem to cut off from it man and beast, yet, lo, there hath been left in it an escape, who are brought forth, sons and daughters, lo, they are coming forth unto you, and ye have seen their way and their doings, and have been comforted concerning the evil that I have brought in against Jerusalem, all that which I have brought in against it. And they have comforted you, for ye see their way and their doings, and ye have known that not for naught have I done all that which I have done in her, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. Chapter 15. And there is a word of Jehovah unto me, saying, Son of man, what is the vine tree more than any tree? The vine branch that hath been among trees of the forest. Is wood taken from it to use for work? Do they take of it a pin to hang any vessel on it? Lo, to the fire it hath been given for fuel. Its 2 ends hath the fire eaten, and its midst hath been scorched. Is it profitable for work? Lo, in its being perfect, it is not used for work. How much less when fire hath eaten of it, and it is scorched, hath it been used yet for work? Therefore, thus said the Lord Jehovah, as the vine tree among trees of the forest, that I have given to the fire for fuel, so I have given the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And I have set my face against them. From the fire they have gone forth, and the fire doth consume them. And ye have known that I am Jehovah, in my setting my face against them. And I have made the land a desolation, because they have committed a trespass, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. Chapter 16. And there is a word of Jehovah unto me, saying, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abominations. And thou hast said, Thus said the Lord Jehovah to Jerusalem, Thy birth and thy nativity are of the land of the Canaanite, thy father the Amorite, and thy mother a Hittite. As to thy nativity, in the day thou wast born, thy navel hath not been cut, and in water thou wast not washed for ease, and thou hast not been salted at all, and thou hast not been swaddled at all. No eye hath had pity on thee, to do to thee any of these, to have compassion on thee, and thou art cast on the face of the field, with loathing of thy person. In the day thou hast been born, and I do pass over by thee. And I see thee trodden down in thy blood, and I say to thee in thy blood, Live! And I say to thee in thy blood, Live! A myriad, as the shoot of the field, I have made thee, and thou art multiplied, and art great, and comest in with an excellent adornment. Breasts have been formed, and thy hair hath grown, and thou naked and bare. And I pass over by thee, and I see thee, and lo, thy time is a time of loves. And I spread my skirt over thee, and I cover thy nakedness. And I swear to thee, and come into a covenant with thee, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah, and thou dost become mine. And I do wash thee with water, and I wash away thy blood from off thee, and I anoint thee with perfume, and I clothe thee with embroidery, and I shoe thee with badger skin, and I gird thee with fine linen, and I cover thee with figured silk, and I adorn thee with adornments, and I give bracelets for thy hands, and a chain for thy neck, and I give a ring for thy nose, and rings for thine ears, and a crown of beauty on thy head. And thou dost put on gold and silver, and thy clothing is fine linen, and figured silk and embroidery. Fine flour and honey and oil thou hast eaten, and thou art very, very beautiful, and dost go prosperously to the kingdom. And go forth doth thy name among nations because of thy beauty, for it is complete, in my honor that I have set upon thee, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. And thou dost trust in thy beauty, and goest a whoring because of thy renown, and dost pour out thy whoredoms on every passer-by, to him it is. And thou dost take of thy garments, and dost make to thee spotted high places, and dost go a whoring upon them. They are not coming in, nor shall it be. And thou dost take thy beauteous vessels of my gold and my silver that I gave to thee, and dost make to thee images of a male, and dost go a whoring with them, and dost take the garments of thy embroidery, and thou dost cover them, and my oil and my perfume thou hast set before them, and my bread that I gave to thee, fine flour and oil and honey that I caused thee to eat, thou hast even set it before them for a sweet fragrance. Thus it is, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. And thou dost take thy sons and thy daughters, whom thou hast borne to me, and dost sacrifice them to them for food. Is it a little thing because of thy whoredoms, that thou dost slaughter my sons, and dost give them up in causing them to pass over to them? And with all thine abominations and thy whoredoms, thou hast not remembered the days of thy youth, when thou wast naked and bare, trodden down in thy blood thou wast. And it cometh to pass after all thy wickedness. Woe, woe to thee, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah, that thou dost build to thee an arch, and dost make to thee a high place in every broad place. At every head of the way thou hast built thy high place, and thou dost make thy beauty abominable, and dost open wide thy feet to every passerby, and dost multiply thy whoredoms, and dost go a whoring unto sons of Egypt, thy neighbors great of appetite. And thou dost multiply thy whoredoms to provoke me to anger. And lo, I have stretched out my hand against thee, and I diminish thy portion, and give thee to the desire of those hating thee, the daughters of the Philistines, who are ashamed of thy wicked way. And thou goest a whoring unto sons of Ashur, without thy being satisfied. And thou dost go a whoring with them, and also thou hast not been satisfied. And thou dost multiply thy whoredoms on the land of Canaan, toward Chaldea, and even with this thou hast not been satisfied. How weak is thy heart, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah, in thy doing all these, the work of a domineering whorish woman, in thy building thine arch at the head of every way. Thy high place thou hast made in every broad place, and hast not been as a whore deriding a gift. The wife who committeth adultery under her husband doth receive strangers. To all whores they give a gift, and thou hast given thy gifts to all thy lovers, and dost bribe them to come in unto thee from round about in thy whoredoms. And the contrary is in thee from women in thy whoredoms, that after thee none doth go a whoring, and in thy giving a gift, and a gift hath not been given to thee, and thou art become contrary. Therefore, O whore, hear a word of Jehovah. Thus said the Lord Jehovah, because of thy brass being poured forth, and thy nakedness is revealed in thy whoredoms near thy lovers, and near all the idols of thy abominations, and according to the blood of thy sons, whom thou hast given to them. Therefore, lo, I am assembling all thy lovers to whom thou hast been sweet, and all whom thou hast loved, besides all whom thou hast hated. And I have assembled them by thee round about, and have revealed thy nakedness to them, and they have seen all thy nakedness. And I have judged thee judgments of adulteresses, and of women shedding blood, and have given thee blood, fury, and jealousy. And I have given thee into their hand. And they have thrown down thine arch, and they have broken down thy high places, and they have stripped thee of thy garments, and they have taken thy beauteous vessels, and they have left thee naked and bare, and have caused an assembly to come up against thee, and stoned thee with stones, and thrust thee through with their swords, and burnt thy houses with fire, and done in thee judgments before the eyes of many women. And I have caused thee to cease from going a whoring, and also a gift thou givest no more. And I have caused my fury against thee to rest, and my jealousy hath turned aside from thee, and I have been quiet, and I am not angry any more. Because thou hast not remembered the days of thy youth, and dost give trouble to me in all these. Lo, even I also thy way at first gave up, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah, and I did not this thought for all thine abominations. Lo, every one using a simile doth use a simile concerning thee, saying, as the mother her daughter. Thy mother's daughter thou art, loathing her husband and her sons, and thy sister's sister thou art, who loathed their husbands and their sons. Your mother is a Hittite, and your father an Amorite. And thine elder sister is Samaria, she and her daughters, who is dwelling at thy left hand. And thy younger sister, who is dwelling on thy right hand, is Sodom and her daughters. And in their ways thou hast not walked, and according to their abominations done. As a little thing it hath been loathed, and thou dost more corruptly than they in all thy ways. I live, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. Sodom thy sister hath not done, she and her daughters, as thou hast done, thou and thy daughters. Lo, this hath been the iniquity of Sodom thy sister. Arrogancy, fullness of bread, and quiet ease have been to her and to her daughters, and the hand of the afflicted and needy she hath not strengthened. And they are haughty, and do abomination before me, and I turn them aside when I have seen. As to Samaria, as the half of thy sins she hath not sinned. And thou dost multiply thine abominations more than they, and dost justify thy sisters by all thy abominations that thou hast done. Thou also bear thy shame, that thou hast adjudged to thy sisters, because of thy sins that thou hast done more abominably than they. They are more righteous than thou, and thou also be ashamed and bear thy shame in thy justifying thy sisters. And I have turned back to their captivity, the captivity of Sodom and her daughters, and the captivity of Samaria and her daughters, and the captivity of thy captives in their midst, so that thou dost bear thy shame, and hast been ashamed of all that thou hast done in thy comforting them. And thy sisters, Sodom and her daughters, do turn back to their former state, and Samaria and her daughters do turn back to their former state, and thou and thy daughters do turn back to your former state. And thy sister Sodom hath not been for a report in thy mouth in the day of thine arrogancy, before thy wickedness is revealed, as at the time of the reproach of the daughters of Aram, and of all her neighbors, the daughters of the Philistines, who are despising thee round about. Thy devices and thine abominations thou hast borne them, an affirmation of Jehovah. For thus said the Lord Jehovah, I have dealt with thee as thou hast done, in that thou hast despised an oath, to break covenant. And I have remembered my covenant with thee in the days of thy youth, and I have established for thee a covenant, age-during. And thou hast remembered thy ways, and thou hast been ashamed in thy receiving thy sisters, thine elder with thy younger, and I have given them to thee for daughters, and not by thy covenant. And I have established my covenant with thee, and thou hast known that I am Jehovah, so that thou dost remember, and thou hast been ashamed. And there is not to thee any more an opening of the mouth because of thy shame, in my receiving atonement for thee, for all that thou hast done. An affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. Chapter 17. And there is a word of Jehovah unto me, saying, Son of man, put forth a riddle, and use a simile unto the house of Israel. And thou hast said, Thus said the Lord Jehovah, The great eagle, great-winged, long-pinioned, full of feathers that hath divers colours, hath come in unto Lebanon, and it taketh the foliage of the cedar. The top of its tender twigs it hath cropped, and it bringeth it in to the land of Canaan. In a city of merchants it hath placed it. And it taketh of the seed of the land, and doth put it in a field of seed. To take by many waters, in a conspicuous place, it hath set it. And it springeth up, and becometh a spreading vine, humble of stature, to turn its thin shoots toward itself. And its roots are under it, and it becometh a vine, and maketh boughs, and sendeth forth beauteous branches. And there is another great eagle, great-winged, and abounding with feathers. And lo, this vine hath bent its roots toward him, and its thin shoots it hath sent out toward him, to water it from the furrows of its planting. On a good field by many waters it is planted, to make branches and to bear fruit, to be for an goodly vine. Say, Thus said the Lord Jehovah, It prospereth. Its roots doth he not draw out, and its fruit cut off, and it is withered? In all the leaves of its springing it withereth, and not by great strength, and by a numerous people to lift it up by its roots. And lo, the planted thing, doth it prosper? When come against it doth the east wind, doth it not utterly wither? On the furrows of its springing it withereth. And there is a word of Jehovah unto me, saying, Say, I pray thee, to the rebellious house, Have ye not known what these are? Say, Lo, come hath the king of Babylon to Jerusalem, and he taketh its king and its princes, and bringeth them to himself to Babylon. And he taketh of the seed of the kingdom, and maketh with him a covenant, and bringeth him in to an oath. And the mighty of the land he hath taken, that the kingdom may be humble, that it may not lift itself up, to keep his covenant, that it may stand. And he rebelleth against him, to send his messengers to Egypt, to give to him horses and much people. Doth he prosper? Doth he escape who is doing these things? And hath he broken covenant and escaped? I live, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. Doth he not, in the place of the king who is causing him to reign, whose oath he hath despised, and whose covenant he hath broken with him, in the midst of Babylon, die? And not with a great force, and with a numerous assembly doth Pharaoh maintain him in battle, by pouring out a mount, and in building a fortification, to cut off many souls. And he despised the oath, to break covenant, and lo, he hath given his hand, and all these he hath done, he escapeth not. Therefore thus said the Lord Jehovah, I live, mine oath that he hath despised, and my covenant that he hath broken, have I not put it on his head? And I have spread out for him my snare, and he hath been caught in my net. And I have brought him into Babylon, and pleaded with him there his trespass, that he hath trespassed against me. And all his fugitives with all his bands by sword do fall, and those remaining, to every wind they are spread out. And ye have known that I, Jehovah, have spoken. Thus said the Lord Jehovah, I have taken of the foliage of the high cedar, and I have set it. From the top of its tender shoots a tender one I crop. And I have planted it on a mountain high and lofty. In a mountain, the high place of Israel, I plant it. And it hath borne boughs, and yielded fruit, and become a goodly cedar. And dwelt under it have all birds of every wing. In the shade of its thin shoots they dwell. And known have all trees of the field, that I, Jehovah, have made low the high tree. I have set on high the low tree. I have dried up the moist tree, and I have caused the dry tree to flourish. I, Jehovah, have spoken, and have done it. Chapter 18. And there is a word of Jehovah unto me, saying, What, to you, ye, using this simile concerning the ground of Israel, saying, Fathers do eat unripe fruit, and the son's teeth are blunted? I live, an affirmation of the Lord Jehovah, ye have no more the use of this simile in Israel. Lo, all the souls are mine, as the soul of the father, so also the soul of the son. They are mine. The soul that is sinning, it doth die. And a man, when he is righteous, and hath done judgment and righteousness, on the mountains he hath not eaten, and his eyes he hath not lifted up unto idols of the house of Israel, and the wife of his neighbor defiled not, and to a separated woman cometh not near. A man he doth not oppress, his pledge to the debtor he doth return, plunder he doth not take away. His bread to the hungry he doth give, and the naked doth cover with a garment. In usury he doth not give, and increase taketh not. From perversity he turneth back his hand. True judgment he doth between man and man. In my statutes he doth walk, and my judgments he hath kept, to deal truly. Righteous is he surely liveth. An affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. And he hath begotten a son, a burglar, a shedder of blood, and he hath made a brother of one of these. And he all those hath not done, for even on the mountains he hath eaten, and the wife of his neighbor he hath defiled. The afflicted and needy he hath oppressed, plunder he hath taken violently away. A pledge he doth not return, and unto the idols he hath lifted up his eyes. Abomination he hath done. In usury he hath given, and increase taken, and he liveth. He doth not live. All these abominations he hath done. He doth surely die. His blood is on him. And, lo, he hath begotten a son, and he seeth all the sins of his father that he hath done. And he feareth, and doth not do like them. On the mountains he hath not eaten, and his eyes he hath not lifted up unto idols of the house of Israel. The wife of his neighbor he hath not defiled. A man he hath not oppressed. A pledge he hath not bound, and plunder he hath not taken away. His bread to the hungry he hath given, and the naked he covered with a garment. From the afflicted he hath turned back his hand. Usury and increase he hath not taken. My judgments he hath done. In my statutes he hath walked. He doth not die for the iniquity of his father. He doth surely live. His father, because he used oppression, did violently plunder a brother, and that which is not good did in the midst of his people. And lo, he is dying in his iniquity. And ye have said, Wherefore hath not the son borne of the iniquity of the father? And the son judgment and righteousness hath done. All my statutes he hath kept, and he doeth them. He surely liveth. The soul that doth sin, it doth die. A son doth not bear the iniquity of the father, and a father doth not bear of the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous is on him, and the wickedness of the wicked is on him. And the wicked, when he turneth back from all his sins that he hath done, and he hath kept all my statutes, and hath done judgment and righteousness, he doth surely live, he doth not die. All his transgressions that he hath done are not remembered to him. In his righteousness that he hath done, he liveth. Do I at all desire the death of the wicked? An affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. Is it not in his turning back from his way, and he hath lived? And in the turning back of the righteous from his righteousness, and he hath done perversity, according to all the abominations that the wicked hath done, he doth. Thus he liveth. All his righteousnesses that he hath done are not remembered, for his trespass that he hath trespassed, and for his sin that he hath sinned, for them he doth die. And ye have said, Not pondered is the way of the Lord. Hear, I pray you, O house of Israel, my way, is it not pondered? Are not your ways unpondered? In the turning back of the righteous from his righteousness, and he hath done perversity, and he is dying by them. For his perversity that he hath done, he dieth. And in the turning back of the wicked from his wickedness that he hath done, and he doth judgment and righteousness, he his soul doth keep alive. And he seeth and turneth back from all his transgressions that he hath done, he doth surely live, he doth not die. And the house of Israel have said, Not pondered is the way of the Lord. My ways, are they not pondered? O house of Israel, are not your ways unpondered? Therefore, each according to his ways I judge you, O house of Israel? An affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. Turn ye back, yea, turn yourselves back from all your transgressions, and iniquity is not to you for a stumbling block. Cast from off you all your transgressions, by which ye have transgressed, and make to you a new heart and a new spirit. And why do ye die, O house of Israel? For I have no pleasure in the death of the dying. An affirmation of the Lord Jehovah. And turn ye back and live. The end of chapters 13 through 18 of the book of Ezekiel, from the Young's Literal Translation of the Bible. Recording by Mark Penfold.